So now let's talk about and the reason that we thought about talking about this emergency rental assistance program is, because the moratorium has just been lifted, and there are so many people that is out there to, that is so in need of help because of pandemic, and there is this rental assistance program available that not many people know, and that's the reason we have it here, so that we can let people know, all the renters and the tenants that is getting ready to face evictions, right, knows about it. And even landlord, a lot of landlord does not know about it, so that landlord can help the tenant with this rental assistance program, which in turn will help the landlord as well. So now, of course, disclaimer, right? This presentation is for informational purpose only. It should not be taken as expert advice. Now, I will tell you, this will be like an educational information where you can, start learning about it, and we will give you some good resources where you can go to take further steps and get help if you need to. And that's the reason why we're doing this presentation. Okay, so now in this presentation, we will cover what is ERAP. ERAP is Emergency Rental Assistance Program. What is the purpose of ERAP? How can you be eligible for this program, and what are the income limits for it? Because one of the eligibility of this ERAP program is your income limit. It depends on how much you make, right? So we're going to look at that in terms of how Alabama is putting it as well, state of Alabama and all the counties as well. And that's what we're going to look at. And we're also going to look at the financial assistance that is covered if you are eligible for this program. If you are eligible for this program, what are the documents that's required?
To come check for that. But there is a walk. I think it is, but I believe it's September 25th, if I'm not mistaken. And
all right. Okay. So now, we're going to go talk a little bit about homeowners, for the homeowners, that is forbearance as well. Why not, right? We're talking about all these assistantship, and we're going to kind of put in there something for the homeowners as well, if the homeowners need help. And we'll give you all the resources that you need to get further help. And also, if you need to apply, you can go ahead and apply. Okay. So now, what is ERAP, right? It is a part of, they call it the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act of 2021. In other words, easily say it, it's a Consolidation Appropriation Act. Now, within this act, they have created what is called ERAP, right? Emergency Rental Assistance Program. And for this program, the government, the Treasury, have allocated $25 billion to help the renters and tenants who are in need of this financial assistance due to the pandemic. Due to the impact of the financial and economic impact of this pandemic. Okay, now out of this $25 billion that is distributed to all states in this Consolidated Appropriations Act, Alabama is getting $263 million. Okay, which is going to be distributed in Alabama to the people or to the household who needs the financial assistance in rent or in utilities. All right, so now this program here in Alabama, it started in February. when Governor Kay Ivey authorized Alabama Housing Federal Authority to go ahead and implement this program and distribute the funds, right? Which is $260 million. And then, the way it's going is from the state, it's going to the local government, that's the counties, and the people who need help are going to go to the counties to get the help, okay? And that's what ERAP is. Now, what is the purpose of this ERAP? Right now, we all know this pandemic happened, and it caused this disastrous situation, right? So this disastrous situation, it needed this drastic measure, and that's the reason why the government put a moratorium on the evictions, so that the landlord could not evict the tenants. Because if they did that, the situation would be worse than what it already was, right? So that was the drastic measure. Now, in the recent past, about, let's say 2 weeks ago, maybe, the moratorium got lifted, right? So now there are many renters and tenants who are facing this evictions. So, and most of the time, these tenants and renters, they don't even know that these programs are available to them, that can actually help them not get evicted, and kind of, help them transition into the time where it actually puts them in a situation, better financial situation. And again, that's the reason why we're doing this presentation, so that we can, let the tenants and landlords know. Okay, so really, with the combination of, lifting of the moratorium and the implementation of this assistance program, I think it really helps to separate the tenant or the renters who really needs this help, who really needs this assistance, from the people who are only taking advantage of the situation, right? So and that's the reason why, now at this point, with these two combination, the landlord can focus on their tenants to, sit with them, talk with them, help them get this assistance, get this financial assistance to help them pay their rent and utilities, which in turn, will help the landlords as well, because the landlord has obligations too. And so, and that's the purpose of this ERAP, or the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, okay, to help tenants with their financial assistance to pay their rent and the utilities. So let's see who is eligible. So, not everyone is eligible. There are these factors that you have to qualify for to be eligible. Now, one of the factor is that the renter household or the tenant household has to have income less than 80% of the area median income, that is AMI, they call it the AMI. Either that, or the renter must have some kind of verification in writing that they do qualify for an employment benefit because of this pandemic. Okay, those are the two things that they look for. Now, in addition to that, they also must demonstrate that they are at risk of experiencing homelessness, or even some kind of housing instability, right? Which means they need to show some kind of proof that they are being evicted, or maybe rent late notice, or some kind of eviction notice, or even the late utility bill notice, and things like that would either prove that they would not have anywhere else to go to live, or with not having water or power, their quality of living would not be appropriate. Okay, so that's one thing that they look for. And this third one right here, it is so straightforward, and it is so much misunderstood. All it is the applicants must currently reside in the property for which they are requesting rental and utility assistance for. So you can't request assistance for your son or daughter, or for your sibling or whatnot. It has to be that same person who lived in that property. Okay, now these are the eligibility. Now we did say the biggest factor that they look at is how much money you make. What is your AMI, right? Your where do you stand in the medium household income scale? So we said that if you make 80% or less, then you will qualify. Now, this is this I just got it for the counties that is involved in Birmingham. They do have, this is published by Alabama Rental Assistance Group, and it is there. The websites that we are going to give to you, it will be in that website. Okay. Yeah, you just, and we'll give you the website and tell you where to go. Now, so now one thing that I want to point out is the lower your AMI percent is, the more chances you have, the more priority that you get. Okay, to be eligible. So what kind of financial assistance is provided? It will pay the rent up to 3 months in advance. Okay, that's one thing. It will also pay your rent going back 12 months. All right, now it can pay your rent up to 18 months, but then when you're applying in advance, you can only apply for 3 months at a time. And after that 3 months, if you still need it, you can still go in and apply. Okay, but to the most 3 months at a time. Now you can also apply for the utilities like your water bill, your sewer bill, your power bill, or trash bill if you have it, right? But now they will not provide assistance for your electricity, your TV, your satellite, or your cable, or even your phone bill. Those are don't even try. All right, so let's see. Now the documents, if you are eligible, you see that you have those 3 eligibility, then the documents that you will need to provide are these 6 documents. Now, within these 6 documents, there are few kind of proof that you will be able to provide, and we will go over that real quick as well. Now, the first thing that they're going to want from you is the identification document, some kind of ID, right? Either your driver's license, your passport, your ID, or you just have a government ID, things like that. They will, number 2 is documentation that supports household income. Means, it could be your pay stub, it could be your tax filing, your W-2 and things like that. And now I do have it where, there's many options that you have. I'm just going to go over it real quick and kind of tell you what are the things that you will need. Okay. Now, the third one that they want you to show is the document showing that the renter have an obligation to pay rent at your address. So that would be a good example of it would be your lease agreement. If you don't have a lease agreement, maybe, your rental payment history, or ask your landlord for the ledger or the bank account where it shows that you have paid your rent. Okay. Documentation showing that the household has experienced a direct or indirect negative effect of COVID-19. So now this is, you do need to show proof that you have been impacted, right? Maybe you got, your company got closed, or, your position got terminated, any kind of proof that the COVID-19 impacted you financially. And there are many things that you can provide, and we'll go through that real quick. And also documentation showing that your household is at risk of housing instability or homelessness. That would be eviction notice or late rent notice, or late payment of your power bill or your water bill and things like that. And now these are the things that I got out of Jefferson County ERAP website, Alabama Rental Assistance Program website, and I just copied and pasted it. It just gives a really good example of what are the things, that options of what you can provide for each documents that is required. So for household income, it could be 2020 tax filing, your W-2 earnings, if you have any kind of SNAP, food stamp, or even housing voucher, Section 8 housing assistance, you can provide that as well. Now, one thing, if you already have an assistance for what you are asking for, you're already getting it before that you've asked for, you will not get it. You can only get that assistance one time. Okay, let's say you're getting for rental assistance, but you already have the Section 8 assistance, then you will most likely not be eligible for it. Okay. So now other things are, if you need to show the documentation that you have obligation to pay rent, it would be your signed lease. If you don't have the lease, you can have a copy of the bank statement or copy of the check or things like that, evidence of paying utilities and other documents that's like close enough. Okay. Admit more people. Okay, so and that's the same thing. Again, this is in the website that we are going to give you, so y'all don't need to worry about it right now. And you do have a lot of options as to what you can provide to them. Okay, let's see now, the documentation showing that your household is at risk of either not a good stable household to live in. For example, if there's no electricity, it would be hard for you to live there. If there's no water, it would be hard for you to live there. Wait, did anyone have any questions? Okay, maybe not. All right. Okay, so what about landlords? Right now, this CARES Act, this program is for both tenant and landlord. That's what's so good about this program. Okay, now with this program, they can take applications from either landlord or from tenant. Okay, now tenant can apply for themselves, or landlord can apply for their tenant as well. if the tenant is eligible, then the landlord is eligible too. Because, the way things are going right now is, landlord has obligations too, right? They have to pay their mortgage, they have to pay their property taxes and all the expenses they have. So, just because the tenant are not going to pay them does not mean they don't have to pay their obligations. So they, and it's very critical for the landlord to be able to help the tenant, because that is how the landlord is helping themselves as well. Okay. Now, if the landlord does submit this application, they will need their government issued ID, lease agreement with the signatures, right? And then, most, if it's like month to month lease, they don't have the lease agreement. In that case, you can just do the rent receipt, or, just the bank statement showing that the rent has been paid. Okay. Now, if applying on behalf of a condominium, not only condominium or corporations, they will ask for IRS Form W-9 and household certification form. This is mostly done by tenant, and that is in the Jefferson County ERAP website. And all you have to do is go in, fill out the form, and this form is to kind of let them know that you don't have any kind of income. And then if you fill out the form and submit it, that's going to be it. Now, if the tenant doesn't do it, then the landlord can do it for the tenant. And the household income documentation, again, it's the same things that we talked about for tenant. And if the landlord does it, fills out the application, then the tenant has to provide this to the landlord so that landlord can help the tenant fill this out. Okay. Now, these are all the things about ERAP. This is so, this Consolidation Act, right, Appropriation Act, has allocated $25 billion. And there is something called American Rescue Plan, and it's a part, and that has the same ERAP Part 2 kind of deal, emergency rental assistance program as well, and they have allocated $21 billion. So altogether, there's $46 billion allocated for this program. But really, up until about a month ago, we were talking to some government officials through ARIA, and he was saying that only 11 billion of this 46 billion were being used. And mostly, and the reasons were, the biggest reason I think they said was just the slow process. The process was so slow, going from one to the other to the other. And the other thing that that really, because these funds were not being used was because people didn't know about it. The tenants didn't know about it. The landlords didn't know about it. So, it's so important. If you know about it, right? If you don't use it, then let somebody else know who uses it, so that they can take advantage of this situation and help them, really help them. And now these are the websites, really, really, really good websites that you can go to not only get information, not only get forms and everything you can apply. Now, Consumer Financing Protection Bureau is, it's the national, federal, overall bureau, right? And so the CFPB has collaborated with FHFA and HUD and even all the other government agencies to provide us with this website right here, consumerfinance.gov, and that has all the information that we need not only know about it, but also if we need to apply, if we need to ask questions. There's even phone numbers that they give you to get help, and they do have counselors in there as well, what they call housing counselors. Very, very, very helpful information. Alabama Housing Finance Authority, so it did go from Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, so from the government, right, federal treasury, into the Alabama Housing Finance Authority. The ones that had all the fund, and Governor KIV has authorized it. So now they have created a website called, this is the website that created ERA Alabama.com. Okay, and then you can go there to, if you're okay, all right. So if your county is not here, so what they have done is, if you go to this emergency rental assistance in Alabama, it will list all the counties that has enrolled in this program. Okay, I just took out Jefferson County because that's where I'm involved in. But then if Jefferson County is not yours, go to your alabama.com, eraalabama.com, and find your county, and go to the website, and it will have all the information that you need for that. Okay, Jefferson County, it's the same thing. And then they even have, if it's for Birmingham, Jefferson County, they even have phone numbers right here so that you can call them and get help, and get housing counselors and people who can actually come help you. Okay. I think I have something on forbearance as well, just to kind of put it out there. We just talked about renters and tenants. Let's just talk a little bit about homeowners as well, right? So forbearance is when the mortgage servicer or the lenders allows the borrower to either pause their payment or reduce their payment for a time being during the financial hardship. Okay, now when this happens, there's usually no additional charges, extra cost, and you don't have to provide any documents. But then all you have to do is kind of call them and tell them, hey, because of COVID, I am going through this financial hardship and I need some help, forbearance help. Now, the only thing and the biggest misunderstanding with forbearance is, it does not erase your, for the months that you don't pay your mortgage, it does not erase that part, okay? It just gets stuck to the ones that you already have. So it just adds on top of what you already have for the months that you didn't pay, okay? That's important to know. And then, when you ask for forbearance before the end of your forbearance, your lender or your servicer will call you to come up with a plan to help help you to kind of come up with a plan to pay. Who is eligible? Anyone who's facing hardship due to COVID, anyone who has HUD, that is FHA, who has VA, USDA, and FHFA, like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. And then even if your loan is not federally backed, you can always call the lenders and see if they can help you kind of pause your payment for a few months if you're facing hardship. Okay. Deadline for the HUD, FHA, USDA, VA is September 30th, but if it's Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, there is really no deadline. And it is, again, forbearance is about the same as the other one. You can only apply for 3 months, and you can extend after every 3 months. And here are some good resource for forbearance. And that's it. That's all I have. I'm going to stop share. And let's see. stop share and, okay, I'm gonna stop recording.